Well, to talk us through all things AI, we are joined from Riyadh by AI expert at techloomy, Alina Timofeeva. Thank you very much for being here with us on the line from Riyadh. So tell us, how has AI reshaped the global economy and global economic power this year?
Thank you much for having me with you today. It's been an exceptional year for AI. For example, the AI architects have been named the Person of the Year by the Times Magazine. But essentially what we see that United States are leading in terms of the AI platforms and advanced chips. But at the same time, China is racing ahead in AI implementation and some of the projects. There are massive investments into AI and AI data centers. And we've seen that S&P 500 Global Index is really driven by some of the major AI-related events. For example, in January, when we saw DeepSeek from China that was offering ultra low-cost training models, all the stocks went down and there was a lot of concern. But at the same time, we've seen massive deals where NVIDIA has been valued at $5 trillion. And we have seen, some of the AI stocks like NVIDIA, OpenAI, and the top 7 companies in the US being responsible for the market share of the S&P 500 index. So it's been a big year.
I must say that we're very much enjoying the on our screens right now, many AI robots, which are very entertaining. Now, you mentioned there Time Magazine naming the architects of AI Person of the Year. What message is this sending to businesses and to governments?
I think that there are two sides. If you are a business, then AI is one of the levers of the innovation, and it does impact your corporate value. However, if you are the policymaker, if you are a government, you should be aware not only of the positives of the AI, but also of the risks. So we have seen a lot of challenges where AI was used for cybercrime or deepfakes. And, ultimately, whilst we have the architects of AI on the cover of the Times Magazine, it's how we as humans choose to use this technology. And if we want to use it as a multiplier for inclusion and opportunity, or perhaps it could become a catalyst for inequality.
Now, AI investment hit $3 trillion and merging and acquisitions nearly $4.8 trillion this year. How sustainable is this surge?
So there has been a lot of concern around the AI bubble. This surge is only sustainable if the revenue keeps catching up. Now, what you need to think about is some of the large entities like The Economist, they are warning that even though AI may be a major technology, some of the investors are backing the wrong companies, or perhaps they are overpaying. And then something which we see is that wealth is highly concentrated. So, for example, only in 2025, AI has added more than 500 billion into the net worth of the biggest US tech billionaires. And we see some of the companies like NVIDIA and a few others, so it's 8 in total, which have valued more than 1 trillion. However, if you look at the same companies like OpenAI, they're losing more than $83 million every day, and that's a lot of money. So now if we look at the users, only 5% of the users are paying anything for the services of OpenAI. So the idea is, yes, the demand will surge and the users will become sticky and they will convert. But, a lot of it is going to take time, and a lot of it is essentially going to take time for AI to bring back the return on the investment, which is being made right now. So a lot of investors right now are focusing on protection against the AI bubble and the AI debt burst.
Yes, I mean, this is slightly reminiscent of the early days of the internet when they were struggling to work out how to monetize it. NVIDIA's market cap reached $5 trillion. Is that a reflection of real economic value, or is that market hype? And of course, you mentioned that horrible word, or that word that scares so many people, a bubble there. Is it a bubble?
So there are concerns around sustaining 5 trillion valuation longer term, and it could be a bubble. So if you look at it on the positive side, NVIDIA has a near monopoly on the GPU chips. And this is very, very important because they are used to train their LLMs. And because of this, NVIDIA is getting a lot of backing from some of the major players. However, on the negative side, the cost and it's very expensive to rent the GPU. So if you are an AI startup, and a lot of AI startups, they can't really afford to rent these GPUs. So longer term, I'm not sure how much demand NVIDIA will get from some of the smaller players. What I think is in the medium term, it will become apparent that the GPUs are overpriced, and then perhaps the valuation of NVIDIA will come down. It's unlikely to be less than 1 trillion. It's probably going to be above 1 trillion, but it's likely to correct to a smaller number than 5 trillion.
Okay. And what about AI assets? How are tech giants' acquisitions of these assets shaping global competition?
So something which we have seen this year is tech giants like Microsoft Cloud, OpenAI, Meta. They are investing heavily into some of the AI companies. And in some cases, there are clear companies like Scale AI that are bringing, the clean data, the structured data that trains AI systems. So for example, Meta invested 10 billion into Scale AI. But in some cases, it's not the investment in data, it's the investment into AI-driven security tools. Like Google has acquired a company around cloud security. It's called Wiz for $82 billion, which is quite expensive. Now, what seems to be happening is that the big firms, they're trying to have the power within, to carry it within themselves, which is why they are acquiring the smaller players in software, talent, data, and beyond. So if you think of somebody in Middle East, for example, who wants to adopt AI at scale, they're likely going to go to one of the major companies, to one of the major giants. And then, instead of going to the smaller vendors. So what this essentially means is that in the longer run, these companies could become the default AI supermarkets for every other industry. And this could mean that there is a lot of concentration within quite a small number of big players from the US.
Of course, the US and the EU are implementing contrasting and different AI regulations. What is the difference between the two, and how is that affecting companies?
So if you look at EU, it's very precautionary. It's very risk-based framework. So it's called EU AI Act that started last year. If you look at the US, they are very much into light touch and innovation-first approach. Essentially, if you are a global company, say you are based in Silicon Valley, but you want to offer a chatbot to EU, for example, in Paris or Germany, then this means that you have to abide by the EU law. So what this means is in Europe, there is more safety, more focus on safety, but there is a slower pace of rollouts, and there is higher expenses in terms of research and development. If you look at US, it's more focused on innovation. It's more helping US win within the AI race. But at the same time, there are concerns that lack of regulation or, smaller regulation may bring customer trust, may lessen the customer trust. So essentially what this means is the global companies, they follow the different rules, whether they operate in US or Europe. There is a potential that the European rules will become a baseline because they are more stringent. And we have seen some of the large companies advocating that whilst they are following the EU AI Act, they are also advertising their services, AI services, as being trustworthy as one of their selling points.
Now, AI adoption has led to major layoffs, and this is one of the risks of AI, isn't it? And it's going to really change the way that people earn a living. How should workers prepare for this shift? Is there any way to prepare for it? Is it just going to be an avalanche that's going to take a lot of our jobs?
So I think something is AI is a very powerful technology, and we have seen before different variations of technologies that happened. You know, we had the computers that would emerge. We had, you know, different mobile phones that would come out. So essentially, there is nothing, you know, completely different around this cycle. We have seen before, you know, a few centuries ago that there would be a person who would rebel, and now we don't have these people because we have an alarm clock. Right? So essentially, it's all around adopting within certain industries which can be more impacted by AI. These industries could be where you have more of a repetitive or manual work, or, you know, something where you can improve your workflow and make it much faster. So to answer your question, I feel that there are two key things. One is upscaling yourself as much as possible within AI, but also perhaps within the broader skills.
Okay.
And being able to do the job which is broader than the current job which you may be doing.
Okay.
But the second one is thinking about the human impact.
Indeed. Well, I'm thinking about the human impact. I'm worried that it's going to be a robot presenting this show tomorrow. Alina Timofeeva, thank you very much from techloomy. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a fascinating discussion. Thank you very much for joining us from Riyadh.